Spice, but I heard it was pretty good.
Good. Plenty of opportunities still.
Yeah.
The weather holds.
Yeah.
It's awfully cold though in the mornings, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's here, but.
Well, it's supposed to be 32 on Sunday night, so it's going to get down there.
We got a heater.
Yeah.
So, John, now that you're retired, you can't afford a camera, is that it?
No, actually, I'm not retired yet.
Oh.
I retired at the end of the year, but this is, as I had said before, I mentioned earlier that this is a theater computer, and I was too cheap to buy one with a camera on it because I didn't think I'd need it. Now that the COVID hits, and you just realize
How you need it.
how short-sighted you can be at times. And I do have a camera, but it's an external and it doesn't seem to want to work. I think we went to Office 365 and suddenly these things stopped working.
Well, you have to keep pedaling, John.
Well, it's not.
So, George, I thought you went to someplace warm and you should have a tan by now.
Yeah, warm.
That's why you should have put that.
I do have a tan.
Oh, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should just.
Oh, that is your tan. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Slightly off white.
There's without arms.
Oh, there you go. Hey.
Okay. Looking good.
Yeah.
Turn the camera off, John.
Morning, John. Do you want me to go back in for your pile of stuff?
Oh, no, I'll go back and, they have an opening for a echocardiogram at 12:30, Commerce.
Oh,
Did you take me over?
Did you get in touch with Tony yesterday?
Who's getting an electrocardiogram?
no,
Pat Palmer.
no, I didn't.
Oh,
I'm gonna talk to him. Well, in a few minutes, I'll be able to have my brother on here.
Hey.
Hey,
Oh my God. Go back to the no camera, John.
Now, I could probably shoot this out. I'm not going to grow a beard. I got a double chin. You might as well all see it. So with that.
Well, I met a guy once who had just a beard down here. And he said, I said, well, why don't you just do that part? And he said, it covers up my triple chin. And I went, oh, okay then.
Got it.
Didn't expect that honesty.
yeah, that's like admitting that your Rolex is a fake.
Now we see my brother in his all glory. You haven't seen him in a month.
Hey. All right. Hey, Pat. Hey, Pat.
Everybody.
Hey,
Hey.
how are you?
Oh, I can take off my mask now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you get here early, Pat, you wouldn't have to sit next to your brother.
Yeah.
Pat, do me a favor. Will you put that mask back on?
Oh. Yeah. I can actually hear you, so we can stop the snide comments.
Yeah, you feel a lot back.
And double them. And truly, the heart problem is nothing compared to being a passenger in Hal Palmer's car.
I've seen the button he's done on his car.
Good Lord.
Fasten your
It's so
seatbelt.
long, he forgot how to put a seatbelt on.
So how is everybody? Darn it. Gee.
Pretty good.
You're good. How are you?
Yeah.
Well, you know, in case you didn't know or just do know, I had a little heart condition that apparently The way my girlfriend said, the way Jerry said it was, well, you've been giving away your heart for so long that you just ran out of enough to give. So about 25% of it is working at this point, and now we're going to go chase them down the rabbit hole to figure out if we can get it back. So I'm just taking it easy and doing nothing.
Oh.
So that's about it.
Yeah.
George Moore.
So I didn't mean to hijack the meeting, but
No, that's okay.
we got to start.
What? Caring ears want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inquiring moments.
So please, no flowers. I did receive a beautiful card from Margie, and thank you for that. And I'm certain that all of you have been every once in a while thinking a somewhat nice thought about me. So
Baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a lot better than me running a meeting and going down the freeway with it on my lap.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's frightening.
That's why Cindy and Darlene are co-hosts.
Yeah.
So I will say this: great job on selling the popcorn, you guys. Man, that's just awesome. What a way to bring money in an impossible situation.
Yep.
Good to see you, Pat. There you
Yeah,
are. You're
yeah.
in the car with Hal.
Yeah.
I thought you had a heart condition.
He does.
Yeah, kind of.
Brave.
If you hung around with Hal, you'd have a heart condition too.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is going underground fast.
I've just come from one doctor's appointment where I said, listen, drinking, smoking, eating red meat, and bacon every day is not a bad thing. Except for this.
Yeah, except for this part.
Except for this
Yeah.
part.
I think you said the bacon was okay.
I think I heard bacon.
No,
I heard bacon.
Yeah.
we really missed you, Pat, because our meetings run 10, 15 minutes shorter now. Not your happy much.
Don't worry, I'm here.
Yeah,
Well,
we do miss you.
well, thank you, Steve. I will tell you that living up in Castle Rock, we've complained enough to Comcast, so they're actually coming up tomorrow, and they're going to fix a fairly large problem. So we might actually have high-speed internet at our place again, where I could
All right.
actually sign on. So
All right.
Right.
yeah, it's been one of those things for several months where we're like, guys, the signal strength is like always at 12%, and we're paying for 100%. So.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to start the meeting for today, September 20th.
All right, love you guys. I'm going to sign off because I got another doctor appointment.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
25 minutes.
Bye, Cass. Okay, Louis, do you want to talk about concessions since Bob's not?
Sure. I'll talk about it. Let me see. Okay, on Friday, we took in
That's what my brother looks like.
$1,090.
What was that?
We took in $1,090 on Friday, and we got $46 in donations. And then on Saturday, we took in $1,028, and we got $49 donations that day. And we thank everybody that's helped us and continue on helping. We need your help.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So, I think they should contact Bob, right? If they want to work Friday or Saturday.
Yes.
Okay.
This week, I'll be gone.
Okay, so if you want to work and you're not signed up, you need to get a hold of Bob Jessen.
You're gone every week, Lowell.
Yeah.
And the Bob number's in the roar, so just look in the roar. I believe it's correct.
Okay. Also, this Thursday is a board meeting at noon. It shouldn't be very Ken Botero, do you have anything for zone?
Hey, I have something on concessions.
Okay.
Let you in.
Thanks to Louis posting stuff on the internet, we sold our grill and the vent fan, the old vent fan today.
Oh,
And so that'll be a deposit going into the bank too.
all right.
So thanks, Louis, for helping us out on that. You did a good job.
And how much did they sell them for?
We sold the grill for $250 and the fan for $50.
Okay, all right.
So Darlene,
Yes,
this
sir.
is how
Uh-huh.
I should be on the agenda with my proposal for LCIF.
For Thursday, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, I'll put you on.
Okay.
Okay, so Ken, do you have anything for zone?
Our last governor's meeting will be tomorrow night with the Longview Kelso early birds. And that'll wrap them up for the year. It's really been pretty good. The newsletter hopefully will go out the first part of November. All the thank yous and congratulations. Things are running pretty smooth. Next month, we'll have some very good news about positions for coming next year. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I know we got Pat going to another doctor's appointment, so he's doing a little bit better. Any other for Sunshine from anybody? I guess not, okay. Yeah,
What's
Cindy?
his wife's name? His wife's name, his wife, what is her name? Whose wife?
Where's
Rife? Tom Rice's wife?
Right.
Pat?
Pat?
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, that's our Pat.
Yeah.
She used to be a member for us, right?
right.
Okay, I get it.
Tom, anything on the Christmas lights?
I have not heard back from Rex on it yet, so I will contact him
Okay,
and I'll have something by next Tuesday.
okay, all right. Okay, we'll do the Happy Bucks at the end. Oh, Dina?
I got a couple of things. One, for Sunshine is a little chiropractic that has helped my situation. All good now. Number two is I have a resident in South Kelso who is looking for a home for a Hammond organ. So if anybody knows of someone who might be interested in a Hammond organ, this is a free organ, and I'm told that it plays beautifully. And then can we have an awards meeting after this?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
And what was the Sunshine report?
Oh, I took a fall and I had a bad week last week, and I went to chiropractor and he's fixing me. I'm almost well.
Okay, good.
Okay, I will, Harold, do you have something?
Yes, I just like to report that on Wednesday, the 7th of October, we installed a wheelchair ramp.
Okay.
And Tom Fulton and Louis Fickett, and Bob Jessen, Ken Botero, and Lloyd Williams and I did that work. And we got a card from the person we installed it for, and it says, "We love the ramp. Thank you, Harold and team."
Oh, all right, thank you. Good job.
I got a question for Harold.
Okay.
Did you ever find your pencil?
I still have a pencil. It's all nice and sharp, Louis.
Did you find it though?
Yes.
There's no lead in your pencils.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty heavy.
All right, I'm going to turn our program over to George Rader to introduce our guest speaker.
About time it was getting a little bit edgy there. So our guest speaker this afternoon is Gian Morelli, who is soon to be retired.
as the director of the Columbia Theater. And I asked him to send me some bio information, but my phone's been on the, he didn't send it? Oh, good, because I don't have it. So at least that explains it. So I'd like to take a little minute before, as part of the introduction for Jean Paul, to talk a little bit about the history in the Columbia Theater. There's a myth around that the Columbia Theater was saved because the wrecking crews were pulled off when Mount St. Helens erupted in May of 1980. So it wasn't demolished. But the reality is that back when Hal Palmer and I were on the city council, in 1982, the company that owned the theater, it was a movie theater, announced that they were going to raise it to the ground and build a tri-screen cinema on the site. And the council was approached by the Columbia Theater Task Force, headed up by Virginia Rubin. They wanted us to buy the theater. It was in the middle of the recession in 1982, and it plotted pro and con, but eventually we wound up, in fact, purchasing the theater and signing a operating partnership with the Columbia Theater Task Force. So I've already read the other history in the Calais County Historical, so I'm sure it's going to become real history regardless eventually. But that's how it all happened. But as part of that, I've been interested in a close observer and supporter of the theater since that time, the early 1980s. And I've seen many of our directors come and go, some by their own choice, some by mutual agreement with the operating board. We've never had one that came close to the skills that Gian Morelli brought to our community. He had the marketing skills to bring acts. He had artistic ability, taste, to discern acts, but he also knew how to listen to the community, to bring things to the community that people would appreciate and go to that we didn't have before. Not everyone wants to hear an opera. Some people want to come and watch a baseball game or a movie. He did all those things so well. So I knew we were going to lose him really quickly to a higher opportunity. But it turned out he had one other trait, and that was persistence and loyalty. That's the two, I guess. And he stayed with us, and the theater and the community is so much better because of that. So at this time, I'd like you all to join me in welcoming. I asked Jean Paul to come and talk about whatever you want to talk about in terms of his career here, or even anything else. Maybe how the origin of his name would be good. So at this time, let's give a nice welcome to Jean Paul from Lions.
Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
No.
I think you're live, John.
What? Alright, where am I? I'm not here. No. I'm unmuted, but no one can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, you can. I'm so sorry. I kept track because I can't tell with my weird things going on here. Hey, first of all, George, thank you very much for that kind introduction. I'm going to cover a couple of things here, and just kind of then leave it open because there's maybe a lot of questions about the future for the Columbia Theater and things like that you may want to know about. But I'm going to talk first a bit about the physical plant itself, a little bit of the history, which you know, but also what's been happening lately. I want to talk then about the programming that we've done, and the pandemic is I kind of have been reviewing 14 years worth of, I remember we did that once, and kind of getting it back in my mind. And I want to talk a little bit about some of my favorite artists, or just mention a list of them, and there's a mile of them. And then I want to talk just a touch about the future. There's a lot of things to say for this. First of all, after the 2009 renovations, we now are still in year 10 of the renovation. It was reopened on February of 2010 with the Smothers Brothers. We brought them back because they were a true vaudeville act of the modern day era. We opened that up in 2010 and have been operating the theater ever since. We did not add Eric a chiller, which was about another $650,000 that we just couldn't do at the time. But having spent a little under $11 million on the project initially, it is really was quite well done, especially when it was done in that era. We added to that later on the chiller. With the Public Facilities District making that possible. You know, they provided about $6 million of the entire amount. And then when they refunded the bond about 2 years ago, we were able to complete putting in the chiller, which needed to be done, which now makes it possible to have the place air conditioned. And then we added a couple of other projects. By the time we finish, my tenure winds up here, the Columbia Theater physical plant will be probably one of the most complete renovations of a historic theater in the Pacific Northwest. There's always that adage of how much more do you need, just a little bit more. There's always another 100,000 here, 100,000 there. But as far as we're concerned, the project has been completed, and we're grateful for that. Our current changes that we put into the theater itself, some you'll be able to see, some you have to hear about. The building was painted as part of the city, and then part of that contract was also to paint the marquee. So the building has been repainted after all these years. The marquee has been refreshed and repainted. We added raised flooring in the basement. Yes, the water still pools and runs through the Columbia Theater, and it's not fun trying to run a radial arm saw while you're standing in water. They consider that a safety hazard. I don't know. But they raised flooring in there to let water flow underneath it, and it does. It still pools, but it does get away. It does escape. It's not musty down there. We added a stage loading door lift. You know, the stage is, some of these are safety issues. We've always had a ramp that we had 1,500 pounds worth of things coming down a ramp and 10 people around it. Now we're going to have a lift in there that allows us to go from the alley down to the stage deck. We're adding a Marley floor covering a black floor, that's a membrane that covers the floor itself, which will preserve the stage deck for many, many years to come. And the marquee, the most important things, which are the things you would notice, is the marquee has been repainted. We're going to be adding new reader boards. The reader boards were put in 2004, so the technology has changed a great deal. We're adding new reader boards that'll be color readers. It'll be pretty much up to date on those things. We're adding LED lighting and a new digital tracer, so all of those light bulbs are going to be LEDs. And it should be a much crisper, brighter look to it. We've added poster box displays. The tracer, which runs the lights, is original to the. We believe it's pretty close to original to the building. So it's a mechanical tracer. So sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. But now it's going to be a digital display. We're adding poster boxes. We have poster boxes. We're upgrading those. And then the most important thing, which you want to go by sometime if you're driving by the theater, stop and get out and look at it, is we've added, and they're still working on it, new front doors. And the front doors are glass inserts. They're wood doors with glass inserts. And the design on them part of this is out of 1925, which is off of the banisters. And then inside the theater, there's a design that has the Columbia Theater kind of crest on it. And then there's an exterior part of that design, which comes off of the doors that were that had been stenciled in the 30s. They stenciled the doors on plywood, and they put a design on there. So we captured both the original history and a little bit of the movement forward history. If you go by, they're stunning doors. They still have a lot of work to put them in place, but they are currently there, and they're just beautiful. They're going to add an ambiance to the theater to the lobbies that we've never seen. All of that work is being done, and as I mentioned, is in essence making the theater a complete stage. It is still loved by a lot of people, and we think we're very proud of it. I was hard and a surprise to us if it took us that we're 10 years down the road from that renovation, because we still think of it as new. And I think with all of the shows and all of the things that have gone through the past 10 years, we've kept pretty good pretty good tabs on the whole thing and maintained it for the community. So those are the physical plant things, and it's going to be really exciting when we finally do open the doors again for people to walk through those doors and greet the theater. The nice thing about those doors is you can see inside the lobby and you can see outside from the lobby. So it's a really nice feeling to it. We have had varied and engaging programming for all of the last 14 years I've been here. As you know, and it seems like right now we've been closed forever. We went from about 35 events a year to 80 plus events in a community our size, 37,000 in Longview and 100,000 in the county. That's an extraordinary number of performances to do. We've had to deal with a lot of things like, what happens when you have a casino open, 25 miles away from you or 20 miles away from you. What are some of the other things that are competing for performance space and for audience? We vet those things. We've done a main stage series of national and international artists. Our Fiber Federal Credit Union Rainy Month series, which is on hiatus, but when we come back into performance, that will be back. Our classic film series, a stage door concert series, which was a really cool thing. You could only get about 70 people on that stage, and it all took place on the stage. You entered through the back door, through the stage door, and it was a buffet, cafe style, fun thing. That eventually will come back and be there. We've had our children's programming that we've been doing for a long time. The Children's Theater week-long summer residencies, our winter theater camps for kids, the Southwest Washington Symphony Children's Concert Series, our workshops in auditioning and acting, our involvement with Eugene Ballet and Nutcracker every other year, where we actually involved our kids in that performance with them. It always is a favorite for that. Those are the kinds of things it's not just about the performances that we bring in, but about the community engagement. And it makes us an essential part of the community. We've had things in the past, I was reviewing and saying, I forgot we've done that. You may or may not have known that we did early on a series of cultural immersion weeks. We chose artists from Japan, from India, from China, and from Russia. And every year we had one of these cultural immersion weeks, and we did authentic performances and added onto that the film and food and other cultural items, cultural things. We spread it out throughout the week. We have workshops. We did those. It's part of our, we just kind of did those because we thought it was important that we bring those kinds of artists in and give people a chance to have them there for 2 or 3 days. And it was not as successful as we wanted it to be, but the quality was certainly there and quite breathtaking at times. Not only the performances, but all of the work that was done and all the volunteer work done behind that. But we were always trying new things. Our cultural immersion weeks were there. If you recall, we've done things that were with the gospel sing-around at one point where we actually passed the basket and raised $4,500 for fish in Collins County. Rescued Paws, we did about $1,100. We were always involved in saying, how do we connect with other organizations? And we're not always able to do that, but when we could, we said, let's make this one. And our most recent one was the $2 for the school program, which we pick certain performances, and particular elementary school, we said $2 of every ticket we sell will go to that school and their PTO. And that was raising about $1,100 before the program was truncated by COVID-19. So all of that, probably the most important program that we did, which is part of the community that was most successful, was when we had Mona Golovich's book, The Children of Wilson Lane, and 4,330 students and community members took part. More than 3,000 copies of her book were spread out. There were 7 school districts from Oregon and Washington that were in the Columbia Theater that week, and it was really a breakout for us to do that, a highly, incredibly successful project. And once again, connected with our students, connected with the individuals, connected with the community. And we felt that that was really important stuff to do. So when I think back on all of the stuff that we've tried to do over 14 years, and it wasn't, it was often, the way we work at the theater was we've got a small full-time staff, a lot of volunteers, and a number of part-timers that work for us. And this is always sitting down and saying, here's the project. Do we want to do this? And if we say we want to do it, we do it. Because there's not another way. You can't go out and necessarily raise money for a project and say we're doing this. We're doing this because it's the right thing to do for the community, and we rely on the community to help support all of the work that we do. And so there's always been that sense of community engagement. I think you probably know a lot of that, but it's been really exciting to watch that. Only in a community like this could you do things like this. If this were in much larger cities, you'd have a lot more to deal with. Because we have the focus, and I think the care of the theater itself, the organization, and the people in this community value what goes on there, it's made it a very gratifying thing to do. For me personally, it was, to have been given this opportunity, have it handed to you, the care to take care of and guide an organization for the benefit of the community with the extraordinary staff members I had to work with, and every one of us feel this way about this community and about this theater. That's a rare thing, to have that kind of dedication across the board, from our guild, from our board, from our volunteer ushers, from the professional staff that's there. And I will tell you that our reputation nationally is still very, very, very high. It's one of those things you don't think about, but it means a lot when people start talking about, when I start talking about bringing artists into Longview, Washington, people go, Longview where? But the reputation nationally is that they love who we are because we take care of our artists, and then our artists take care of us. That's the kind of, it's a very humbling thing to know that in all of these years, how much this community has stepped up and held up the Columbia. And that has come to prove itself during this pandemic. We closed our doors in March, and we will probably not open up again until at least next March. The governor has received from the State Arts Commission, with all of our input, an opening plan that we hope that the governor has accepted, but it still is going to keep us down to, virtually a quarter of our capacity. So we're going to have to find new ways to deal with the future of the Columbia Theater. That will happen, and I am pleased to report to you that one of the things we did early on was find a way to secure, at least if it were just on life support, secure and stabilize the finances of the Columbia Theater to help us get through this pandemic and this time. We're not floating in money, but we have a plan, and it's working well, that we could probably sustain the organization through the end of August of next year without having had any major performances. We hope that's not going to happen, but we're anticipating that it's probably going to be a while before we can come back at this. So that's where the Columbia Theater stands, but your Columbia Theater is in good shape. Financially at this point, it's in stable shape. And there are going to be some other things that we will be planning and doing. We started a project, because we cannot open the theater itself and let people in, and because when we started socially distancing people and saying, all right, how many people can we get in our 800-seat theater, and what is the capacity if we socially distance? We came up between 134 and about 200 people, depending on the groupings. That doesn't necessarily give you a chance to bring in some of the artists we've been bringing in. The entire industry has imploded on this level, and there will have to be, going into next year, a period of time when the theater board does a whole new strategic plan, because any past strategic plans are out the window. They don't exist anymore. So they're going to be looking at that, which is a good thing, because it's good every once in a while to kind of sweep the table clean and then start fresh and see where you go. The good news is that financially the organization can handle that. We have 4 full-time staff members. Each one of them is very important to the theater. They're very highly skilled in what they do, and you can't just say, go away, we'll call you back some other time. That's not going to be possible. But we have been able to make that work and keep people whole, and that's a good thing. In the meantime, all of these projects that have been going on have been a boon for us, and they've kept us busy inside, painting and fixing and doing lots of different things in the theater itself. And they even gone through the closet, Fibber McGee's closet, and thrown things out. Has been a really important thing, which we've not been able to do. When you're doing 80-some events a year, you don't have time to breathe. You just go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. So that's what's kind of happening at the theater. We started a project that just started last Saturday night, when we said, how do we engage with folks and let you know that we're still here? We started a thing called Artists in Our Midst. And I will just tell you briefly, that comes from a concept that I've carried my entire life, that in any community, you can be sitting right next to someone, and you can have a child or a young person who's going to be doing extraordinary things someday, and we don't even know it. So our job as a community is to give everybody that opportunity by making these things available to them. One of the things I'm going to share with you is that when I talk about celebrating the artists in our midst and understanding who they are, I got that concept many years ago when I was in North Carolina, and it's kind of an interesting story because I was living next door to a very delightful and attractive young woman, and I had a cat, she had a cat, and every once in a while she'd come over and say, would you look after my cat this weekend? I'm going away. And I said, fine, and I did that. I'm a little slow off the switch, so I would take care of her cat, and she would go away. After about 6 months of her doing this, I finally said to her casually one day, are you a flight attendant because you're always flying off? And she said, no, I sing at the Met. And I said, the Met, like the Metropolitan Opera? She said, yes. And that's what she did. She lived in Lexington, North Carolina, didn't like New York City, but found a way to fly back and forth when she needed to do her shows. So I was sitting next to, in essence, a secondary major contract player for the Metropolitan Opera in New York City, and she was living right next door to me. I'm going to bring that forward to another quick story about something that happened this year, which you'll hear about later on when I talk about this artist in our midst. We had brought in an artist a couple of years ago called Ambrose Akinmusiri, who is now considered about the number 5 greatest jazz trumpeters in the world. And we had him here for a concert of about 99 people, and I could see them plucking chickens and warming up the tar for me. So we can't do this anymore. But this is an extraordinary performance. Now, I was talking with someone the other day, or a couple of weeks ago, who happened to mention that concert, and I was shocked. I said, you remember that? You were there? He said, yes. And they brought a young man from Clatskanie to see it, and that young man was so impressed that he went and studied jazz piano, went to the Berklee School in Boston, and is now one of the more sought-after jazz pianists on the East Coast. He came from Clatskanie. If you go to Centralia, you can celebrate one of the greatest of the American modern dance movement out of the 50s, Merce Cunningham. So when I talk about celebrating the artists in our midst, it's not just an opera singer or a dancer. There's somebody right here, and there are a lot of those. So we created a series that you'll have a chance to tune into on our website called Artists in Our Midst, and we have videotaped or video recorded, I think 7 of them, and we'll be doing things with the symphony so that they can be doing some fun stuff on there. And we started last Friday, so every Saturday night, I believe, all the way through December 19th, we have a new one that we're uploading, and then you'll be able to see it on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. last Saturday night at 7 o'clock, we uploaded Avi Habib. Many of you may or may not have known him. He plays around a lot, but obviously most of these artists are not playing now. We have a woman named Catherine Rose, who's a wonderful Celtic singer, who's coming up this Saturday at 7 p.m. You just tune in. There's no cost. We got some money to do that. Carl Workala and Christine McAllister. Carl's out of Castle Rock, and he's an amazing country singer who's going to be there MP6 with some jazz. Steelhead, the classic rock band you may have seen play for you. The Oyster Crackers out of Long Beach Peninsula. Adriana Church, who is not from here, but could almost have been, because she's performed here at St. Stephen's Church, I think 3 times at least. And she's a 20-year-old, incredible classical pianist. And we will have her. The Moonshine Country Band will follow on that level. And those are some of the artists that we're doing, and we're hearing more and more people who are calling us and say, can I get in on this? Because we're not asking them to do anything other than perform, and we're taking care of the business for them. So I invite you to go onto the website, columbiatheater.com, and look for, you can either see it on Facebook or it will be on our YouTube page. We started them last Saturday. We will continue them for as long as we can, and we're looking for some grant money, which we're about to apply for, that might allow us to extend this and celebrate the young artists in our midst, which means we'll be starting to look for younger artists here in our community who can perform, and we'll have a chance to see them. Once it's up there, it's up there on the internet forever. So we want to make sure that we give them a good look and give them some good professional work on it. So that's kind of what we're doing. It's the only thing we really can do right now as far as performing is concerned. I was going through my list of things and thinking, my goodness, who are some of the artists? And you may have a bunch that you've said, and I was thinking some of my favorite artists over the years. When you think back on it with me a bit, maybe you've seen them, maybe you haven't. Ed Asner, of course, was on my top of my list. I've always wanted to. It was one of the few people who I was starstruck by, is Ed Asner. And I walked into his dressing room and he said, so you're the Goomba that runs this place. Okay, Ed. And Jimmy Webb, if you remember Jimmy Webb, who did MacArthur Park, Up and Away, all of Glenn Campbell's songs. A personal friend of Glenn Campbell was on our stage doing kind of a retrospect on his work. And it was really a wonderful evening. Dave Mason of Traffic was there. Under the Street Lamp, which was a wonderful 50s group, Outrageous. James Garner and his Johnny Cash thing, we had him here twice, and he was incredibly popular. Asleep at the Wheel, Little River Band, Pablo Cruz. Again, another one of my favorites, John McEwen and John Carter Cash of Nitty Gritty Dirt Band was here. Evil Dead, the musical, Push Physical Theater, the acting company with Hamlet. Can you imagine an organization in a community our size putting that kind of output over the years, all of these different kinds of artists? And it's hard to do because it's a small community. And you're going to have to like a little bit of everything, and you got to be willing to step into it. But these are some of the major artists and the things we brought in over the years. I'm sure there are hundreds more. And I think that's been what's made the Columbia Theater dynamic. We always say that we are always in motion. We are always going to try something new because we never know when we're going to need to. When we're going to need to extend. We're going to need to have fall spiced popcorn. Those are just some of the things that are happening. Personally, yeah, George, thank you for those words, but this has been, the 14 years, it seems like it really takes a lot of effort and a lot of passion to do the work that we do in the theater, because it's not, as Mary Kay said, how does that make any sense? And I said, it doesn't. It's kind of like the circus. It doesn't make any sense. You just do it because you're passionate about it. Every one of the people, all of the ushers, all of the volunteers have really been deeply passionate about the theater itself and about what it means in this community. We are probably the smallest community that I know of, certainly in the Pacific Northwest. that does the kind of volume of programming that we have done in the past. We'll be back at that in the future, but it is pretty amazing, and you cannot let it go by what a special place this theater is. And it's not for somebody who does the programming or somebody who does technical things. It is an entire community engagement that owns this theater and will hold it up. That's been very humbling for me over 14 years. I still get weirdly misty-eyed about it when I start thinking of all the things that mean so much to me, and to know that somehow it connected with this community, and it just made it very humbling for me. So I'm very grateful that I've been given the opportunity to hold this place up and keep it in trust for this community for these many years. I'm not tired. There are other things I'd love to do, but I'm going to be 66, and there comes a time when you need to set this passion down and pick up some other ones. So I want to thank you for letting me do this quick little rundown of all the things that we've done and are doing, and I welcome any questions and thoughts that you guys have.
Steve Patterson?
Hey, John, first of all, thank you so much for all of the service that you provided on behalf of Longview and the theater. What is the board doing now to find a replacement for you? I know it'll be easy, but sorry. What's the procedure for replacing you now?
Well, that's an interesting thing, because I will tell you that I had announced my retirement to the board in November of last year. And I said I'd be leaving by June of 2021. When COVID hit, it was the process of sitting down and starting to do all those projections and see how in the heck are we going to be able to keep this organization afloat? How are we going to do it? We did it through some SBA loans, some PPP money, and all of those they were good deals. But in the process of that, Steve, I looked at it and said we need to reduce the budget and go into kind of a hibernation mode. We're not going to be performing a lot, but we have a lot of work to do. So we pulled that back. And so by reducing the size of the budget of the organization, we were able to kind of circle the wagons and I think feel comfortable then going into strategic planning. That being said, finding a replacement is going to be a little while, and they will look at the strategic plan and say, we've got really good staff right here who are working for us full time, who are absolutely first-rate people. And those are the folks who are going to see the place through. Eventually, probably going to be, after they do strategic planning, say, where's the Columbia Theater going from here? Because there's some things in play that we have wanted to make happen that just kind of got put off to the side. Is that the direction we want to go in? We all know that the community is changing, and as far as I can see, it's going to be very bright for Longview, specifically in Cowlitz County, over the next 10 years. It's just going to be very bright. Like I said, sometimes I wish I were just starting at 10 years to go, because there's so much that's going to change. And that's going to change the dynamic and what the theater, the organization is going to look like, and what kind of programming. Do we do more children's theater programming? Do we do more children's theater education? Those are the things that take place. But that means we're going to have to decide that first, and then probably the answer, the long answer for your question, Steve, is to say that when probably this time next year, they will begin looking for a new executive director, because they will know who and what they want to be. But what we're expecting in our entire industry is that nothing is going to change much over 2021. It's going to be pretty meager all the way through. We've just got to find a way to plan for the future. That's what's going to start with the board. Strategic planning comes in January, and then deciding how they're going to find that new director.
Yeah, thanks, John.
I think the plan is set for John to make a great comeback.
Yeah.
And Marshawn Lynch type comeback.
Yeah. Greg?
Yeah, John, I'd like to comment on your what you've done there too. You've done a tremendous job, and I especially want to thank you for not having Hal Palmer sing.
That I will say that is, if he did sing and did have a chance to sing, it was not my fault, it was the Follies.
Okay, are there any other questions? John, thank you very much for your presentation today.
Thank you.
Tom, you have a question?
Yeah, no, it was nice. Last Saturday, he worked at the concessions with us.
All right.
So now that he's going to retire, we'll probably see a lot more of him. And that was great.
I will have to look for more. I did have a lot of fun selling. It took me a while to find out where you were when I got there, but I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to be there.
Well, thank you for what you've done for the community, for the Columbia Theater. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, hold on to it, folks.
Hey, any happy or sad bucks? Phil?
This is a little bit of a happy and sad dollar. I got an able-bodied friend to go over to Bill Pontius' house to pick pears, and we found out when we got there that Steve Patterson got all the low-lying fruit, and wasps got all the high-lying fruit, and what was in the middle was wonderful, but it wasn't plentiful.
Oh, okay. Okay, Dwayne?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It's my birthday!
Hey, well, happy birthday!
Are you gonna sing for me?
No.
No. Unmute, you guys.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to
Oh. How young are you, Dwayne?
John, be sure you let us know where you're at so we can send your perfect attendance pin to you.
I broke my perfect attendance today.
Hey, anybody else on happy or sad bucks? Nobody? Okay, just a reminder that board meeting on Thursday at noon. And then right afterwards today, we're going to have an award meeting. Gina's going to have an award meeting. So if there's nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting. See you guys all next week. Bye.
Bye.